What's going on, gamers? So we have some information here from Jeff Grubb about Sony's potential event that's going to be happening next month. Now, what's interesting is that usually last year around this time, Sony usually does their showcase. You know what I mean? They usually would get it out before you would think E3 was coming. That's something they would usually do, and they would do like a showcase, which those ones could actually be good. But the state of plays, oh my God, they just been terribly disappointing. Everybody knows it too. So here, Jeff Grubb said yesterday, PlayStation event in June. That's the entirety of what I can confirm. So he doesn't know what it really is. No specific dates. Not sure if it's a state of play or a big boy showcase, but I lean towards state of play. No, sorry, that's my feelings about that in a funny way. That's it. Anything else that people add is their own speculation. This is what Jeff Grubb is saying. He's saying that he has inside intel that Sony is doing this, but what he's saying is that the inside intel, from what he's reading, obviously it doesn't tell him it's going to be state of play, and it doesn't tell him that it's going to be the PlayStation showcase. You know, Sony usually does those things. They're pretty long. So basically, what he's saying is that from his point of view, he thinks they're going to do a state of play. I probably think so too, because it depends on what they want to show, because we have the Game Awards too, right? In December. So I think with Sony, they need to actually show a lot. We're going to get into the video too, where he says this, and we're going to talk about this. Going down here in the comments a little bit, it says, is the lean towards an informed guess or a thing that you've heard? Good question. Informed guess, but still a guess. Okay, so this guy is giving him an informed guess. State of play for Death Stranding 2, that's it. Stupid, because they have their own release date. They did their thing in March. It'll come around, but it doesn't need to be like, oh, we're showing off. No, Sony needs to let people know what's around the corner. Like, we need gameplay of Wolverine. We need some type of highlight of like a potential Venom. You know what I mean? We need like more Phantom Blade gameplay for console players, because it's going to be on PC, so I'm not really worried about that. So you know we're going to get that. We're going to, what I think for sure we're going to get is a deep dive state of play of Ghost of Yotei before it comes out. So I think that's probably going to be separate from that. They need to show off some other IPs, like they need to show some live service gameplay of something, you know what I mean? And whatever other IPs they have around the corner. Sony has IPs, you know what I mean? They just need to show it. Show it that you're about to do some classic remakes from the ground up. Like, it needs to be good. Like, so you're wondering again, man, if they don't have anything to show this year, obviously we already know what's happening this year. Then you know what the hell's going on in PlayStation? What do you have ready to show next year? Like, give people some sneak peeks. It needs to happen, because Microsoft's embarrassing this year. This is the first year I've ever seen Sony mess up so bad where Microsoft is doing so much better than them. And I'm like, damn, you know what I mean? Nobody saw that coming. Nobody saw the cancels coming at the beginning of the year. Jade Raymond leaving now. Haven Studios probably having to shut down Fair Game. It just keeps getting bad. Bungie may have to. I mean, it looks like it's over. Like, that's a huge flop. Like, all this stuff you see around, it's like, yeah, you guys have to find something to where you take that, become a magician or an alchemist, and turn that into magic, and get the world back cheering again, to where it feels like PlayStation is winning in a gaming sense. You are selling hardware, so you won that. You know what I mean? Just like Nintendo sells, and they win there too. But the other half is people picking up and playing the game. I'm not going to marry my device. I'm not staring at it. I have it to pick up the controller and play a video game. That's kind of the point. You know what I mean? And you need to provide more things for your device. I don't think Sony really makes the distinction between state of play and a showcase anymore, Jeff. I don't think independent media should either. News is news. Any update at this point is an update at this point. They have no roadmap and no real release dates for much. It's going to be disappointing, and that's no speculation. So going over here to the video, we'll read some comments here on Resetera too. This is where Jeff Grubb actually says what he needs to say. So around the 7 to 8 minute mark at the start, Jeff Grubb basically gave the information. We're ready. Let's take a look at this. Let's go.
Fans have come to expect that Sony will host some kind of digital event in the month of May. The firm has put on either a PlayStation showcase or a state of play around this time every year since 2019, but it's looking increasingly unlikely that Sony will be doing that again. There was a report, Jesse, on, I guess, no, the report, whatever. Someone commented on Reset Era, Nate Drake, who's reliable, and says he hasn't heard anything about a May event from Sony this year. I haven't either, and that's because something's happening in June. It's a June thing. They're doing something in June.
So that's where he said that at. Another game they have to show off, which I forgot, is Intergalactic Heretic, Naughty Dog's new IP. That has to be there too. So there's potential for them to have a really good showcase. It depends on if they do it correct, right? Naughty Dog is also working on another IP. Neil Druckmann has confirmed that he's going to be the producer for that game. So some people were speculating, are you going to do an Uncharted spinoff? You know, Nathan Drake and Elena or whatever had a daughter, didn't they? You know what I mean? You still have the other people around too. So could Naughty Dog do something with that, or are they working on another new IP away from that pool? Interesting, huh? So yeah, we have that going on too. And then what's going on at Guerrilla Games, right? The Horizon developers. What's going on with that other Horizon game that's supposed to be going on? You know what I mean? So they definitely have some games that we could be seeing and some stuff we don't know about either around the corner.
Now, is that going to be a big showcase? I don't think so. I said a couple months ago, Jesse, that
But it needs to be
I
enough.
heard that they were discussing going back and forth about doing a showcase or a state of play.
Mhm.
Sounds like they've probably settled on a state of play. I'm not like 100% about that aspect of it. It's probably a state of play though, but I have heard June. So, what are your expectations for that? I mean, beyond like, okay, they missed May. Part of that probably was them having that discussion of like, if it's a showcase, maybe we could do it in June, make it even bigger.
Yeah.
And then the fact that they kind of dragged their feet on that a little bit, maybe that's what pushed it into June. But do you think there is reason to get like big excited for a state of play from Sony in June if that's
I
the way it
wouldn't.
goes?
I don't know. Like, what?
Guys, the reason why I wouldn't is because you don't want to get let down. I've already done that enough, but it's better to say like, I'm not going to be stoked, but if you do make me feel that way, it's better. You know what I mean? And there's some things you can't just, you just can't help but be excited for. But something like this, I don't know how. Like this year, Sony's just, but I'd hope that it's good.
Because I think about like what they have versus what they've offered this generation so far. It's like, okay, so we have Ghost of Yotei and Death Stranding 2 and Marathon are kind of the three things they've got to hang their hat on right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, if we get more of those games, great. But also, Sony's in a weird spot. They've been doing weird things. They just like tweeted out the Ghost of Yotei release date and trailer like a couple weeks ago. Like they don't seem like they're building momentum for any specific thing right now. So a state of play could be cool. Maybe they got some third party stuff that they want to show off, some other stuff.
That's why we need Nintendo to do what they're doing to put a lot of pressure on them because they feel like they can just cruise control and autopilot. Because Microsoft's not going to threaten them in any way. They see now Call of Duty's not that much of a threat. I know we saw that court case finished too. I'll do another video on that. And just the way that they're looking at it, it's like they don't feel like they're being threatened by Microsoft. So that's why you want Nintendo to do what they do because better competition is just better for everyone. It makes things just better in general. So yeah, I want to see them get pushed to the brink. You know what I mean? I would like to see all of them be at their highest peak and all of them have a creative splash fest. That's what I wanted. That's what I was originally saying last gen. And it is disappointing seeing that these two haven't done that like they should have. Microsoft's now catching up a bit. Sony needs to catch up in the first party in-house development department and give their gamers what they deserve, a better generation. This is just one of the most disappointing PlayStation generations from a gaming sense, not a hardware sense.
Which would then make it not a showcase because the showcase is generally like primarily first party stuff. So
Or like the biggest third party partner stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like a GTA 6.
That's another, yeah, because if you got a showcase, then it is going to be about PlayStation games, where it's like state of play. I mean, they did a Borderlands state of play. Though Borderlands looks good, but it's like, yeah, that's when you know. It's like, come on, man.
Shows up in a showcase.
Yeah, I think about that KOTOR remake that they showed at one of their previous shows.
I forgot about that.
When they've got something big to roll out, which, I don't know what's going on with
They
that.
were supposed to be doing a Knights of the Old Republic remake. Where's that at? You know what I mean? So, yeah, man, I forgot about that.
But that's a different story.
Sony's done with it. Yeah, it's still happening, but Sony's done with it. Yeah.
It looks like it.
So I don't know. I'm keeping my expectations in check.
Probably nervous.
They haven't really given me a reason to think anything higher than what we already know.
I mean, what about just like the passage of time? Because that's where I'm with you, Jesse. It's like they haven't given us anything, but it has been like a minute since they've come out and just been like, here's what several of our big studios are working on, and this stuff will be coming over the course of the next 2 to 3 years. That's typically for a showcase, right? Is it because it's probably a state of play that there's no reason to really get our hopes up for that?
I feel like we
That's how I
know
feel.
what a good chunk of their studios are working on at this point, right? Like we know what Housemarque's working
Yes,
on.
exactly.
We know what Sucker Punch is working on. We know what Insomniac is working on. We know what Bungie's working on. And then a bunch of titles that just shipped and didn't do great, and this live service push that they have. And so for me, it's like I don't even know if they know what 2 to 3 years down the line looks like for them right now. I think a lot of their studios are still kind of trying to figure that out.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah, they need a lot of reorganization to where they okay, now we have some type of stable organization because it's just too shaky every week or two. It just more shakeups.
we're in this weird spot where I think a state of play could have like one cool announcement at the end, which kind of feels like normally what it is. It's here's our third parties, here's Borderlands, here's some indie games, here's some other thing, and then it's here's Housemarque's new project. Here, like we'll show you a trailer and then we'll talk about it next year. So
Mhm.
they could have something like that down the line, but I don't know. I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
There's something about it. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about Sony right now. They're in a weird spot.
Yeah, it's a weird spot. Obviously, a lot of that is their own making with the live service initiative just going completely sideways in a lot of ways. And then the state of play, that factor is not worth like overlooking. That is something that usually happens because it's like an obligatory partnership deal that they've made, where it's like, hey, we have these third party companies and we've promised them a slot in the state of play because it's worth a certain amount of money. That's part of our co-marketing deal or whatever. So we have to do one of those. And state of plays often feel like something that Sony kind of just had to do. So I think that's why we say that. It's like let's all just like tamper it down. That's not to say there have not been banger state of plays, and I guess
Jeff, yeah, we know, man. They've been mediocre. They've been mid as hell. Yeah.
everyone's definition of what that would look like is different.
Tony, sit
There's
down.
a handful of them that everyone kind of there's a consensus about, like, oh no, that was a good showcase in terms of, or good state of play, I should say, of showing off what they have coming up and getting us excited and like hitting their biggest franchises. But those are more rare. So I'm wondering, it's like I'm hoping, I guess, that maybe we're in that moment where one of those rare state of plays could pop off. And if they were debating between a state of play and a showcase, it's because it's like, well, we do have the games that we want to talk about, but will they have assets ready to go? Because that is troublesome to make these days. It takes a lot of time. It's very distracting for these studios to put that stuff together, whether that's a gameplay trailer or even something CGI made in an external studio. That's still very distracting. There's lots of meetings, 2 months of work, stuff like that is kind of what I've heard typically. So a lot of these studios are hard at work on the actual video game. Maybe they didn't have the time to work on something like that. Or if they did, they're still working on it and they're like looking around, like, we don't have to force it into SGF. There's Gamescom coming up. That's also a Jeff Keighley thing. We could just do it there. So maybe something like that is kind
It does sound like Sony when it comes to third party because they'll appear all there and get promoted. And that's why I said they're going to save some promotions for this December too. So we kind of get the idea here, right? This is as far as we could pretty much go on the subject. Let me know what you guys think. Is there any games you would like to see there? You know what I mean? That you've been waiting on for quite some time. Let me know down in the comment section. All right, y'all. Peace. Have a great day. We just wanted to see what the hell's going on. If Sony's going to have some type of like big positivity exploding this year, but it just doesn't seem like that so far. But we'll find out, right? I don't know. Never know. All right, y'all. Peace. Have a great day. Ponies. You just gotta hang in there. Microsoft's giving you some food, though. You know what I mean? They're bringing you a plate like all the time. Later, y'all.